I'm not working this way again, ever. This is absolutely horrible.
Hello, I'm John Waters, and I'm supposed to announce there is no smoking in this theater, which I think is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard of in my life.
Rodan.
Snowden.
Rodan. Rodan.
Ronan.
Buck Owens.
Buck Owens.
I'm running the track.
Bop, bop,
Jesse
bop.
Owens.
Bop, 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 bop.
Nickelodeon.
Bloody.
Chode Factory. Chode Factory. You can factor me in the Chode Factory. Chode Factory.
Choke Factory.
Chode Factory.
Children Factory.
Children. Factory. Gross. Gross.
Does Jeffy need to come clean it up for you?
Come clean it up. Come clean it up now.
Children's Factory.
The factory. Don't stuck a sticky stooky stuck. Don't stuck. Don't stoop away.
I hide my phylactery. Don't laugh at me.
Prophylactic. Prophylactic.
What'd you do to that?
I didn't do anything to it.
You just noticed it was messy. Jeez.
Yeah, Jesus.
Jeez. It's like he who spilled it willed it. That's not how it works.
Who spilled it, willed it.
Thou who hath smelteth it, hath dealteth it. Who articulated it, articulated it.
What else floats on water?
Farts.
Little rocks.
Some very tiny
Very
rocks.
tiny rocks. A duck.
Precisely.
Precisely.
So.
So.
Shall we begin?
Yes.
Welcome to the Cinema Underground.
Dun, dun, dun,
Dun,
dun.
dun, 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 with myself, Pat Corrigan, and
Jeff Brandon.
That guy.
Andy.
that's Andy.
I'm the other guy, Mark.
Mark, the other one.
The other.
We should all just like point at each other and say, "This is Pat." No, we can't do that.
You can do that though. It just won't be. It will not be seen on the audio.
Right, but that's the.
On the rodeo.
That's
so we're talking about film noir this time. That's the new topic. Film noir. It's a great genre. It's a lot of it's taken a lot from what do you call it? German expressionism with the use of shadow and minimal light and black and white film, even when Technicolor was available in Hollywood. And it's also following up that period of Hollywood where crime films were becoming very popular. Like you got your early films like Scarface and Maltese Falcon, and then you have a kind of B picture move in on the side after all that happened, and they're saying, well, we're going to take that and make it darker. And we were going to call it film noir. And I don't think anybody called it film noir at first. I think the deal was it had happened, and then the French saw it, and as usual, the French were like, this is art, because they get to decide what's art.
Right. It was film noir de Americana or something.
Yeah, some Frenchy Bologna. But yeah, exactly. It's one of those deals. It was a retroactive title given to these films. Generally, a lot of some A pictures, some B pictures, some back and forth. You got a lot of big time writers working on these, which I don't know how popular that was prior to film noir, but you got a lot of guys like Hemingway is getting involved. He wrote what did Hemingway write again? God damn it! If I don't write things down, it's hard for me to remember them. I can remember them in polite conversation, but I can't remember them when I need to know them. So I'm just gonna try and remember. What was that one with him? It was something obvious. Noir. Ernest Hemingway. What did he write? It's one of the more popular, obvious ones. No, not the Killers. That's why I was getting confused. 'Cause I was gonna say The Killing, which is Stanley Kubrick's first film.
I was looking at that.
Which is a film noir as well, which is Stanley Kubrick's first really, really great movie.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, The Killing. If you haven't seen The Killing, it's
What year was
excellent.
that made?
The Killing or The Killers? The Killing is what you're asking about, right?
Yeah, Stanley Kubrick.
Yes, The Killing was made. Now there's a show called The Killing, which is what's coming up. Let's type in Stanley Kubrick, which I don't know how they might be somehow related. or just banking off of how good this film was. The Killing was made in 1956. So yeah, it was really early. There's a lot of great anecdotes about Kubrick in this movie. I don't know who the cinematographer. He was new, so he's a kid, and the cinematographer. Basically, they had a little incident. And the very first shot in the movie is this long tracking shot where it looks really cool because they have it so the walls are cut out, so it's kind of looking between rooms. So you see the seams in the walls, like it's kind of like an effect. So they set it up so it would kind of come in around those walls and then come up to the gangsters as they're planning their thing. So Kubrick set up the track like that, and then the cinematographer came in and like took the track apart, and then he was like, oh, it's gonna be much better this way. And Stanley was like, why'd you move my track? He's like, it'll look much better this way. He's like, okay, well, what about the change in perspective? He didn't want to do the change in perspective, and Stanley Kubrick figured out what he was up to and told him to either set the track up how he had it or get the fuck off his picture.
Typical Kubrick
So that was
fashion.
it's typical. That's Kubrick's first moment in the big time, and the first thing he did was give somebody a bunch of shit, which he would become known for throughout his career. And was right, as he often is, because he's it means there's all types of rumors with Kubrick, like he has an IQ of 200, which maybe, I mean, I'm sure the guy has a very high IQ. I wouldn't doubt that.
Don't know that.
Publicly,
That's possible.
Publicly, he has said that he actually has a lower than average IQ, so I don't know where the whole IQ of 200 thing actually came from. It's pretty much commonly mentioned when talking about Kubrick, but he does not back that up. But he's an intelligent guy. I mean, think about like The Shining, the intricacy of The Shining. You certainly can. I mean, but the movies we're talking about today, so you got Sunset Boulevard, 1950, Billy Wilder, Strangers on a Train, 1951, Hitchcock. Of course, you can't talk about film noir without Hitchcock. He's the suspense master.
And the creepiness master.
And Billy Wilder, too, is a excellent director, great director of film noirs and comedies. He did Double Indemnity and other stuff too. He's just a really cool guy, Billy Wilder. And these are some of the guys when we did our Expressionism, our French New Wave episode. We talked about the guys they were worshiping in Hollywood. They were talking about in Cahiers du Cinema, and these were two of those guys, Billy Wilder and Alfred Hitchcock. So, which movie would y'all like to talk about first?
We could do Strangers.
Strangers on a Train.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Strangers
I mean, it's
on a Train.
Hitchcock. Strangers on a Train.
We saved the best for last.
Save the best for last. So you're of the opinion that Sunset Boulevard is the best?
Yes.
Okay.
Really?
I would agree. I like it better, yes.
I liked Strangers better.
Wow.
That's weird.
I think...
It's highly unusual.
I don't think so.
I don't think it is. Although I do enjoy Sunset Boulevard more, I could see how someone might, if not prefer it, then say that it was a better film. Because
I'm not saying it's a better film.
I think Sunset Boulevard is one of the best films I've ever seen.
Sunset Boulevard is amazing, but there's a few things that might turn people off, and we don't have to do it in any particular order. So I'll just say it, like the overdub or the narration. That too, a modern viewer, that seems really weird because it was super common back then. But I mean, eventually they figured out, like, you know, people don't need to be told what's going on; they can just see what's going on.
But still, it's cool because it's
Right.
I
feel
he's
like the
telling you
movie-
after he's already dead.
Yeah, right.
So that's kind of cool.
Right. There's a number of interesting choices in Sunset Boulevard.
I
I
feel
feel like it could
having-
have been like half an hour shorter.
Sunset Boulevard felt it was a little too long.
I
See,
thought it was perfect.
I know. I love that movie, and I
I
love
thought
the way
every
it
scene
plays
there
out.
was great. I wouldn't take anything out of that.
The third person narrative, it's sort of assuming that your audience are idiots, and that's why
I think generally, but I think it's an interesting choice in this movie because they're talking about the silent era, and she keeps saying words. People need things explained to them now, and blah blah blah, and like we used to do
That
with our
is true.
faces, and they're not in this movie. They're going a step further and just feeding you this story. But again, he's also this like kind of unreliable narrator. I don't. That's probably too far because he's pretty straight up. This guy, even about his own faults. So, but he leaves things to the imagination. He leaves things out. I mean, obviously he's dead right when they start the movie, so that's very interesting. But Strangers on a Train is a little more modern or typical to me in some ways. but good. I mean, definitely good. Have any of you guys ever seen Throw Mama from the Train?
No.
You've never seen Throw Mama from the Train?
I've heard of it before.
It's a movie written and directed by Danny DeVito, starring Danny DeVito and Billy. I want to say Billy Wilder. Billy Crystal. And the plot of the movie is that there's a writer at night school, or he teaches writing, and his wife stole his book, and she published it after they got divorced. So she's making millions of dollars. He still has to work as a teacher, and he has this weirdo in his class who's played by Danny DeVito, who's like a total like Asperger's type person, and he hates his mom. So he goes off one day and he sees this. He sees strangers on a train, and like doesn't pay attention to at all to how it plays out. He just likes the idea
of a crisscross.
Right. He likes the idea of the crisscross.
We'll swap murders.
And it goes down pretty much exactly the same way. Danny DeVito's like, we'll swap murders. I'll kill your wife. You kill my mom. And Danny DeVito approaches her while she's like leaning over on a cruise ship to get her earring off the ledge. And she falls and dies herself. But he just claims that he did it. So Billy Crystal will kill his mom. And then Billy Crystal comes over and he calls him his uncle something. He's like, yeah, it's weird. And he's like, she's really old. You don't even really have to kill her. You can just startle her a little bit. Just talk with your hands, talk loudly. So he's like, yeah, it's a fucking hilarious movie. Throw Mama from the Train. Gotta love it.
Throw Mama off the boat.
Throw Mama off the boat train.
Strangers on a Train. It centers around a tennis player.
Right.
Guy.
Correct.
Guy.
I like their
Guy
names.
Hayes. His name is
Hayes.
Guy Haynes.
He's no Fedorov, but
He's not a professional. He's not even professional.
He's not even professional. What's the deal with this guy?
right.
What's his deal? What's he doing schmoozing with the upper crust? Like,
He's just like raking it in the amateur circuit.
okay. Is that how he... Because he's like dating a sen... Is he...
He's dating a senator's daughter.
Right.
He has a wife who is a fucking
Bit
skank.
of a whore.
Yeah.
Bit of a whore.
Skank. She's the type of girl that I'd like to hang out with. She seems
She's...
fun.
Yeah. She's morally loose.
She seems fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Morally lenient. I don't remember.
So this guy, oh God, what's the other guy's name?
Bruno.
Bruno.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
So Bruno is just like, he reads a lot, and he might be a little Aspergery.
He's a whole sociopathic.
He's certainly on
Well,
the
he's
spectrum.
a sociopath.
Yeah.
He's not. I mean, he's very clever
Oh,
in the way he acts. He's not.
yeah.
He's not Aspergery. If you're
Well-
Aspergery, you're not clever when you're interacting with people.
No,
You're like
you're
you're very
right.
flat affect, and people are like,
What's your deal?
"What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
Clearly something's up here.
That guy, people are
Bruno,
like, "What's
yeah.
wrong with you?" But it takes a little while because you're like,
Yeah.
I'm scared of you."
He's more of like a Ted Bundy character. Like, he's very charming initially,
Yes.
and then when he's like choking you at a party,
Then you're like,
through a
"Hey,
point, you're like-
I think something's up here."
everyone's like, that was weird.
So he just like reads a lot, and he sees our buddy Guy on the train, and he's like, "Hey, I know all about you. I've read about your wife and your girlfriend, and
And he knows he's getting
he
the
just
divorce
like
and-
diarrhea of the mouth starts talking about like how he doesn't like his father because he's got lots of money, but he
He won't
doesn't
give
think
him
he
enough.
does shit, and
He's
like, well, hey, how about this? How about we swap murders?
yeah. I do love that one point where he's like explaining what his dad is like, and he thinks I should have to work a job and like pay my own way, and he's like, what do you think? And the
Work
guy's
my way
he
out.
cuts him right off, and he's like, yes, I hate him too. And the guy's obviously about to be like, that sounds reasonable to me. Like,
Yeah, that whole thing.
It's just like, humoring him. It's like, yeah, all right, man. All right, you're going to buy me dinner? No, don't worry about it. I'm just going to go to the dining car. Is there any seats in the dining car? Not for 20 minutes.
right.
Mm,
It's like,
He got stuck.
it's curious to know how much is actually planned on the part of Bruno, because it's set up so nicely. Like how far advanced he thought of all of this. Like, I mean, he picked him out, Haynes, ahead of time, but was he on the train just for the
think
sole
so?
purpose of? It seemed like, because
think
he
that was
knows
all
who Haynes
premeditated?
is.
Well,
I
he
can't
knows who he is
prove
just
it.
because he,
I can't prove that.
just
I
because
just think
he's
it's
weird
possible.
and fucking like reads the papers and shit. He's like, oh, I know exactly who you are. He's into
Right.
tennis.
Right. So one angle is like he could have but he's obviously had the crisscross murder on his mind for a while. Let's swap murders. But he
thought of
meets
it
this.
before.
He's thought of it before. But
he's thought of
he's
a lot
so
of murders
quick to
before.
be right. That's true. In a lot of different ways to murder people.
He is a sociopath.
Right, that's true. So sociopaths can be really quick and take advantage of situations on the spot. So
Yeah.
he easily could have.
Which this guy did. He was like, "Oh, you left the lighter there. I'm going to take that."
Mm-hmm. So he's always
like,
going.
"Oh,
He was thinking, he was like,
some
I should give
future-
this back. No, I'll keep this. And it wasn't like he was like, I'll keep this to frame him. He was just like, I'll just keep this because it's nice.
Yeah, so he's a sociopath, the kind of guy who would just steal something for no reason.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. A to G.
A to the motherfucking G, homeboy.
So yeah, he sees the lighter and it says A to G on it. He's like, oh, this is from
Right.
Ann Morton.
Yeah.
The senator's daughter that you're dating.
That's what's so interesting to me, though, that he puts together that the guy might want his wife killed, that he knows that the divorce thing, well, that's probably in the paper, that is in the paper, is that he wants a divorce, but the wife won't give it to him.
Well, I don't think that was in the paper.
I don't think it was
Where
in the
did he
paper.
get
I
that
think he
information?
inferred that, and
Well,
then the
yeah.
guy was
He
like,
pried
of
that
it because
out of him.
he's
I'm
out.
pretty sure.
Well,
no,
yeah,
he mentioned it first, and then
Right.
the guy was like, "Oh, you know about that or
Yeah,
something."
yeah. Because his wife initially wanted
Well,
a
he knew.
divorce. And then,
So he knew he was seeing Ann Morton
right.
because that's in the papers.
That's in the paper, yeah.
And he also knew that he had a wife still because that was also in the papers. So he just kind of like put it all together. He's like, oh yeah.
There
Oh, you
were
gotta-
some
you
sort
gotta
of-
stop in your hometown.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
Right, because he said he was mentioned he was stopping in Metcalf,
Right.
whatever it's called.
Mhm.
Yep.
So then, I mean, that would be pretty obvious at that point. It's like, okay, you're gonna see your wife.
Yeah, right.
There were
Haynes never says outright that he wants him to kill his wife.
No,
That's
not
the
at all.
thing, right?
But he
Like,
does say to himself on the phone to Ann Morton
Yeah,
that
that
he would strangle.
he
He
would
could
strangle
her.
He could strangle her.
That was after. He
Which
talked
also
to the guy,
happens
though.
in the exact same scene happens in Throw Mama from the Train, except he yells in a crowded cafeteria at the college. He's like, "I hate her. I wish she was dead." And then like the cops say, during the interview, one of the women in his class is like, he said, "I hate her. I wish she was dead." That's the
Right.
same woman who would write things like his brains ooze nice, like a nice melted malted. He was like reading it back to her. He's like, "You don't see anything wrong with that sentence." She's like, "It's great." His brains oozed nice,
So I
like a
feel
nice melted malted.
In this time period, like, you could say that kind of shit. You could say that. But, like, nowadays,
Right.
it's like, oh, I could fucking kill this person. I want to, like,
Oh, yeah.
wrap my hands around their neck. And, like,
People-
that's going a little too far.
People
and
are
Well-
liable to take you
You know.
literally and go overboard
Right.
for sure.
but people, your phone conversations also weren't being recorded 24/7.
Not
Right.
like now.
Right.
That's the other thing.
One of
other
our
factor.
15 listeners is an FBI. I bet.
No.
Gotta be.
Yeah, they got to be on everything.
No way.
Hey,
They're too busy with like 4chan
a modified
and 8chan
anarchy
and shit.
symbol as our symbol.
That's true.
Well, it's just metadata.
What?
Metadata now.
Metadata?
Metadata.
Metadata.
Metadata?
Metadata.
Metadata. Okay.
Metadata.
Metadata.
So yeah, there were a couple inconsistencies. Definite plot inconsistencies with this movie. Like
Well,
the
I mean,
phone.
Why wouldn't you just fucking go to the police as soon as she died and be like, oh, this dude said he was going to kill my wife?
And he said he's going to blackmail me, but
Right.
then again,
It'd be a very difficult. I could see how it would be difficult to explain this to police, especially when dealing with the police. You basically just don't want to have to deal with the police ever because they will. Who knows what they'll do? Who knows what they'll get up to?
right? They're
Well, I
they're
mean, with
especially at this time they're a little questionable in their methods.
Right.
Right. Well, I mean, with the dudes following him, like, they were tight with the dude that was following him.
Yeah, they were
So,
nice.
Like, as soon as he found out that he had his lighter still, he could just been like, yo, this is what's going on.
Right.
Here's the proof. He's got my fucking lighter.
Anyway, the guy who played Bruno, I thought was Robert Vaughn the whole time, but it's not.
Walker.
It's Walker. Yeah, it looks a lot like Robert Vaughn, like from Pootie Tang. Starring Biggie Shorty, my boy. I'm trying to forget all their names. Truckee and Robert Vaughn. But yeah, he looks a lot like Robert Vaughn.
That
And nobody
lip,
else I recognize.
that lower lip.
There's some other interesting. Obviously, wait, who wrote? Oh, Raymond Chandler was involved in the writing of this movie. He was one of the people involved in this group, who I love, and you can credit a lot of where film noir came from, which is detective fiction, to Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett, who apparently, so the person who wrote the novel was Patricia Highsmith, and they bought it from her for $7,500, which is kind of a lot for back then, but even by Hollywood standards, it wasn't very much. And the reason
Right.
they were able to get away with it was because it was her first novel. And I think it says that they talked to Dashiell Hammett, so it's basically like Hammett and Chandler. They're the two guys. Chandler was the only one of them Chandler was the one who went to Hollywood and started making his money that way later. But Dashiell Hammett was another original hard-boiled detective author. So it says, so they use with the treatment Hitchcock had shot for a screenwriter. He wanted a name writer to lend some prestige. That's probably how he ended up with Raymond Chandler, but was turned down by 8 writers. These included John Steinbeck, Thornton Wilder, and he talked with Dashiell Hammett, and that went a little ways. But ultimately, I don't think Dashiell Hammett he didn't take it. But Raymond Chandler did, and also Raymond Chandler would work later with Wilder on Double Indemnity, which is a great noir picture. It's about like insurance salesmen. It's like basically insurance salesmen. An element to it, they have claims investigators, so it kind of takes the detective thing and puts it on a claim investigator, and then there's an insurance salesman who tries to orchestrate. What the fuck am I talking about? Raymond Chandler, yeah, he did work on this. I feel like I mixed it up. Billy Wilder didn't direct this, though. This is Hitchcock. But, right. So I think I threw that name out there. Oh, okay. So Hitchcock talked with Billy Wilder while making this movie because of Billy Wilder having written Double Indemnity with Chandler. That's the ticket. Okay. So it looks like Hitchcock actually is going into this. He's trying to make this a film noir. He's trying to talk to the usual suspects of film noir. Hammett, Chandler, Wilder, to try and get a feel of how he's going to do it. Which makes sense, but, I mean, in another sense it kind of doesn't, because he's like, Hitchcock's the master of suspense. Like, if you've seen any of his early films, they're like great suspense pictures. They could be film noir if they had come out at the right time. Like one of his English movies. Like, there's this one English movie I saw with what he did about like a little kid carrying a bomb that he doesn't know is a bomb. So the whole movie you're like, oh shit, I hope this kid doesn't blow up. It was really good. I don't remember what it was called, but it was among like 50 movies he made over the course of like 10 years in England.
Wow. That one sounds
Back when you could do that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there were definitely some weird plot inconsistencies, like how, like we didn't really know how he knew so much about Guy. Bruno knew about Guy.
He's like a playboy. Yeah. He was in the newspaper. He was
in the newspaper.
Right. I mean, but there was also like,
his daughter.
but also like there was a phone call partway through the movie where Guy called him apparently for no reason.
So the phone call though was just weird. That wasn't even plot inconsistency because it didn't make any sense at all. Because it wasn't like so then the other one we were talking about was when they knew he was going to Penn Station,
Right.
and then that he was going to Metcalf, but even though it was like a non-existent car chase, so that didn't make any sense.
the one
But
at the end.
It was towards the end, yeah.
yeah,
Like after, like he had.
it was after he had the tennis.
He had
match,
his girl. Right. He had his girl set up like a
cab.
taxi waiting for him, and he had her sister like distract.
Like give the guy a
investigators.
blowjob basically.
Or an eye job, I guess.
Wipe some powder off his junk.
Yeah, that one. But then they go out there. He's like, "Where'd he go?" And they're like, "Okay, we gotta go to Penn Station." But it's like, how'd they know that?
Yeah.
So
They
that-
kind of assumed he was going there.
Yeah, but then the phone call though, that just didn't make any sense because there was like earlier on in the movie. So Guy. Wait, who called who?
Guy called Bruno.
Oh right.
You mean when he was
Oh yeah,
when he called him to say, "Hey, I'm gonna go kill your father tonight"?
No, be way before
way
that.
before
in
that.
the very beginning.
It was really the first. It's like the only time he saw his father, and it was at his house, like the Bruno. And then his father's like, "I want to talk to you." And he's like, "Sorry, father, long distance."
Yeah, I
And-
remember that scene.
And then he picked up the phone, and then it was like,
That was weird.
He didn't really say anything.
well, but when you call someone, you ask for someone, but then it was like he was asking. It didn't make any sense.
Is it possible that
He was
Bruno
calling
had
him back.
had the butler make the call initially?
That's
and
what
then go get
I was
him?
thinking. That would be the only way that made sense. That is a
I don't think I
possibility.
thought about
that
it, but
guy
I
was
think that's
calling
what I
him back
assumed.
and like, yeah, hey, oh,
Or he
oh
had
yeah, hey.
Like he had him on the line or something, waiting.
Right.
Like the butler's like, "Oh, my master wants to speak to you."
My master. Bruno,
Yes,
my master Bruno.
Yeah, that would make sense, I guess, if that was the case. But they didn't explain that or anything. 'Cause they just assume that that's what people with ballers don't make phone calls, of course.
Right. Like, can you get this fucking guy, Haynes guy, this Tannis fucker on the line, please? And the guy does it. 'Cause
Right.
He's the butler. It's his job.
Right.
He knows how to
He's a rich
pick
boy.
through a phone book
Also,
and
Bruno's such a classic
Try-
rich boy. He's almost like
Try the Morton's
a
house.
precursor to like.
Justin Bieber.
No, I was gonna say like the Menendez brothers or something.
Oh,
you
okay,
know?
yeah.
But any.
I mean,
spoiled
sort of like any young pop idol,
Well,
they're
say what you
wearing
want about Justin Bieber.
outrageous
Justin
fucking
Bieber has
clothes.
a job, though. Justin Bieber
It
he goes
has
out there and
skills.
he makes it happen. He never says never.
Right.
He does it. This guy doesn't do shit. Bruno just hangs out.
Right, with his weird lobster tie and
Designed by Hitchcock, by the way.
that's actually a really cool tie.
Hitchcock designed that tie himself.
I would wear that.
Put a lot of thought into his clothes and the way he orders food. Like, apparently Hitchcock wanted him to be like very interested in the food he's eating. He's very interested in consumption, so on the train he orders lamb chops and French fries and chocolate ice cream.
Right, and the
Yeah,
lamb
they-
chops were poorly done,
They're a little overdone, but good. Yeah.
but very certainly captures the sort of rich boy esque.
I think that's what we're getting. I mean, it's obviously looking at upper crusty people, which a lot of detective things do. But also, I just don't get Haynes' background all that much. I mean, he's in with the senator's daughter. I don't know what his
'Cause he's
ex-wife's
like a
deal
hotshot
is. He's a hotshot amateur tennis
dude.
player. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. So maybe did he? It doesn't really clarify. Did he come from like a mediocre background?
It seems like he came from like a
I mean, he plays
meager
tennis,
background.
so he's got to be at least middle class.
Right. That's my
Yeah.
assumption is middle class,
Yeah.
but he's dealing with the upper class. Which, speaking of class, I just saw Us,
Oh yeah.
Jordan Peele's movie, and like I didn't really like. Get Out, I thought was a good movie, but didn't really care about it that much. But this movie was as good as Get Out should have been. It was really fucking good. And it had this really cool subtext about class struggle and how that all works. And
well, I mean, so to Get Out.
so to Get Out, this does too, but it's a lot. It's
better.
just more clever and it's more subtle, and it's like just there's more layers to it. It's not just like, oh, there's other types of racism too.
Get
It's
Out
like,
wasn't that subtle.
like, and also it's not just like racial and us. It's more about class and there's elements in there about like inherited poverty and systemic racism. It's in there, but it's mainly focused on how classes work and how you can move up through the classes. And I think what the overall arching theme of what Us is, even though we're not really talking about it right now, is that when you are, let's say you're African American or you're in a minority, when you move up in a class, there's like a part of you that's like feels like it's a betrayal or something.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. That part I was a little fuzzy around, other than the obvious thing about people get kept down, but there are ways you can move up in classes, but there's different psychological things that happen when you do that. It was just overall really creepy, really good movie, and I dug it. And it was grim, and there were a lot of bunnies in it.
Ooh,
Which is
I love
weird.
to eat rabbits.
Rabbits are cool, but I've been having all these weird bunny-related coincidences lately. Like, the first thing that happened was my brother-in-law found a bunny in our backyard. I mean, and then at the same time, roughly the same day, my fiance's aunt found a bunny in her yard and kept it, and they both kept the bunnies, whatever. That didn't really seem like anything.
They
But-
kept the outdoor
but then
rabbits.
I listened to an episode of Strange Familiars, and they had this thing about the bunny man, about how bunnies can be this weird like archetype, and they can mean different things. And then I was watching a show about UFOs, and they were talking about how like they can transform. I think it was the Dan Aykroyd episode of the last podcast, Side Stories, and he was talking about how like they can change form. He's like they could change into a bunny rabbit, and then walk
Why
in-
are you wearing that stupid human suit?
Right, and then walk into your living room and you wouldn't know the difference. And then immediately after I listened to that episode, that's when I watched Us, and there were all these rabbits. I was like, "There's fucking rabbits everywhere, man!"
The fuck?
I wish there were fucking
They,
rabbits out here eating
how do
my
they catch
hostas
these
plants so I
rabbits?
could
They just
eat them.
What?
How'd they catch these rabbits?
They were like alone. They're baby rabbits alone in the yard. Like if it was me, I would have just left it. I would have assumed that the
Yeah.
parent rabbit would have come at some point. But like, I don't know. My brother-in-law gets just like overzealous, and he's like, "I'm gonna go get this rabbit and save it," and then he like put it in a box and with the food and stuff, and then then we ended up letting it go anyway. Like it was just roughly the same thing happened with the ant, except she kept it for much longer. In fact, it died the other day. But it's just this series of bunny things. I'm starting to think now bunnies and Christ and Easter and stuff.
Oh.
What is with bunnies? What is the archetype? What's happening in society with bunnies? Why are we a little?
They're becoming more and more popular as pets
That's true.
because they're low maintenance and they're furry
Jordan
and cuddly.
Peele says he chose bunnies for us because the thing is that the people who live underground, the underground dwellers, they eat bunnies, live bunnies. He said the reason he chose them is because he's terrified of rabbits because their ears look like scissors and their eyes are menacing, which I never really thought that, but I guess I could see that. And there's also a theme of doubles, like it's 11-11 keeps coming up in the movie, and I thought about it. If you get two bunnies next to each other, the ears will look like 11-11.
Crisscross.
Crisscross. We swap bunnies.
It's like if one bunny was rubbing on the other one, you know, they would make scissors.
Yeah,
They would
scissor-
would make scissor
Bunny
ears.
scissors, yeah. That's what's up.
Oh, dude.
Scissor me, bunny.
Dude.
Scissor me. Timbers. You know, they clip dog ears. Why don't they clip bunny ears? It's interesting. It's the way the bunny's supposed to have the ears. That's what makes them a bunny.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're a groundhog, pretty much.
Essentially.
Darn rodents, marmots. Are they a rodent or a marmot? Is there a difference? What is
What's
the?
a marmot?
I'm not sure. I think like the bigger rodents are considered marmots, like groundhogs, gophers.
Somebody needs to look up the word marmot.
Already on
Marmot.
it, bro.
That's not
Marmot.
That's not a
Marmot.
word.
Marmot.
It's not a
M-A-R-M-O-T. Marmot.
Or marmot. Marmot.
Marmont?
Marmont.
Marmont Potion Castle.
Marmot. Large squirrels.
That can't be what it says. Marmot, a large squirrel. That's it.
It's like
Yep.
a large
Anything
breed
that
of
could-
squirrel.
Looks like a large squirrel is a marmot.
That's actually, literally, if you look this up, marmots are large squirrels in the genus Marmota with 15
Okay,
species.
so they're like they're in the same family as squirrels. So squirrels are not rodents then.
Genus.
Right.
But they
No.
Rodentia. Yeah, that's like a kingdom.
You can
or
have
something.
marmots could be a subclass. Of
No,
rodent.
squirrels are not included in
back
them.
on class. Yeah.
Squirrels are not rodents.
Well, like sort of like rectangles and squares.
Right. Like not every
Every
rectangle is a
No,
looking fuzzle.
A parallelogram.
Yeah, so square. Okay, every square is a
Closer,
rectangle.
You're far.
Every square is a rectangle.
Thank you.
There we go.
And he was drifting from the mic.
Every square is a rectangle.
Every square is a rectangle.
Right.
That's true.
So
But
every
not every marmot is a square.
Right.
so every marmot's a rodent, but not every, if this is
No.
how this works. But not every rodent is a marmot.
Right.
Unless the family Securidae includes them. Okay, squirrels and...
I would. Okay, I don't know. I
I'm
don't know.
fucking interested now.
So Securidae
Podcast
does
about
include
marmots.
the mostly herbivorous...
Okay, well,
But
what
they
is the
include
exact definition
prairie
of a
dog.
rodent?
A small squirrel.
Just what is it? Look up rodent. Just look up rodent.
Okay, rodent.
We're gonna get to the bottom of
Class, order, Rodentia.
Yeah.
this. Okay, wait. So wait, what is the marmot thing? What?
Oh, it is of order Rodentia. They are technically rodents.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's not a kingdom. It's an order. All right.
Yeah.
I was close.
It's not a, well,
Kingdom order.
kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species.
Yeah, whatever.
It's like a rap song.
I forgot the phylum. Can't forget about the
Chordata?
phylum.
You
Yeah,
can't forget
phylum.
about the spinal cord, dude. Does it have a spinal cord? Then it's in the chordata phylum.
Dope.
Dope.
Class, Mammalia. Yeah.
Words.
Word, son. Check it out. Check it out. Funk show.
Completely,
brother. Check it out
completely
now.
arbitrary.
Arbitraria.
Arbitrarium.
What?
Animalia
That'd be a fun
arbitraria linguistica.
That's what you call it. You put a bunch of animals in one cage. You call it, this is my arbitrarium.
There's a drawer over there of sufficient randomness.
An arbitrarium.
Yeah.
For sufficient randomness.
That's, making it sufficient feels...
I've got several drawers. I call one of them the drawer of excessive randomness.
I have a drawer of insufficient randomness.
Insufficient randomness. This is too uniform.
I need more shit.
I'll throw some bits of string in here.
Yes.
I'm
I
sure
like
these
where this
paper clips will be useful sometime.
I like where this podcast went.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, you read Hardboiled Wonderland, right? What were the things that, like, there were little things that could be paper clips or any other small item that were actually, like, sort of metaphysical items, but I forget
I
what
think I
they were
still have
called.
that book.
What's that?
I have that book.
You should read it. If you haven't read it, it's very weird and metaphysical.
I got like a third of the way through it. And
I love
kinda
it. It's
stopped
great.
For some reason.
But they were called something funny like widgets, but not that. Or, this is gonna kill me now.
Oh,
Anyway, you
shit.
continue. I'm just gonna look that up for personal reasons.
Yeah, where were we? All right, so Bruno
Bruno
ended
Mars.
up sending Guy a gun,
Mhm.
and then Guy called him again and said, "I'm gonna come and kill your father tonight." And Bruno was just like,
Bruno's too smart
Dope.
for that.
"Cool."
Mhm.
Sick, bro. Thank you.
And so Guy shows up. He sneaks in. He sent him a key too, so he used the key to get in. And he sees the dog, and the dog is just like,
Very cute.
"Yo, what up?" I don't know why he didn't pet him.
He did pet
That's
him.
what really pissed me off about
He did
this
pet
movie.
him.
He didn't pet him.
Yeah, as he walks by, because first he's like, "Oh shit," and then the dog starts to lick his hand, and he's like, and he like petted him and walked by. He totally petted him.
He didn't give the dog enough attention.
He petted him though.
He didn't
He's
give
an
the dog
animal
enough attention.
abuser.
Like he didn't like
That's what's
stroke
wrong
him.
with
He didn't
Guy.
stroke
Yeah.
him, but he patted him a couple times and then
Give him
walked
a
away.
couple
Yeah,
pats.
yeah,
Couple pats
okay.
of recognition.
I'll give you that, which is not enough attention for that dog.
It's a guard dog.
And so, Guy goes
Well,
to Bruno's
should've
father's
killed
room
him.
on
Dog
the map
should've.
that Bruno had provided him, and he's just like, "Yo, your son's fucked up," and Bruno's there. He's like, "Hey,
So obvious.
yeah, I knew you weren't gonna kill my dad, and he's out of town," which is kind of weird. Like, he was like, "I was gonna tell you, but."
Well, it seems like with all this,
What do you mean?
With
Bruno
all-
knew.
Yeah,
Bruno knew that he was gonna tell his dad that.
Well, yeah. So,
It was obvious,
I mean,
'cause,
like,
like,
Bruno was
suddenly-
just like, "Yeah, I mean, my father's out of town. I was going to tell you, but then I was just like,
right, and
I'm not
the
gonna
light,
tell you."
the light was off first, and
Well,
then
no,
he turned the light
Bruno
on.
said that he's like, because he's basically said that he knew that he wasn't gonna kill his dad, because he was explaining how Bruno's explaining how Guy like had a sudden change of heart, and he basically alluded to that. He's like, yeah, that was kind of weird.
Wait, so was it Bruno's? So Bruno he wasn't aware all along that he would fuck it up. He wanted
No,
to
Bruno,
do
because
it.
Guy randomly he was like suddenly like, okay, I'm gonna do it,
Right.
and then Bruno just was like, that's your
A
obvious
red flag.
It was a red flag. So he's like, yeah, apparently his father's out of town, so he's like, yeah, come tonight, go ahead. And he was just in his bed, and he's like, he's like, surprise.
That
Yeah,
was fun. It was just a prank. Just pulling pranks.
Having that sort of criminal, intelligent foresight, you'd
It wasn't
think,
that intelligent. It was pretty obvious.
right? But still, having
You're
that
like bothering
foresight,
some guy to kill your dad for months,
But-
and then he's like suddenly just like, I'm gonna do it. He's like, you're a little too enthusiastic about this, buddy.
Yeah.
you'd think that somebody with at least that level of, foresight and reading people and stuff like that would be able, in this time period, to get away with murdering their own father.
Yeah.
Especially somebody who is as obviously as capable as Bruno.
Here's the thing,
is.
though. You're not supposed to think about that.
Yeah, I know.
Just Kill your own fucking dad.
Yeah.
You're not
Or
supposed
find
to-
someone who's
otherwise the
equally
movie doesn't make any
sociopathic
sense.
to swap murders with. Can't you find a fucking criminal who would love to swap murders with
Or
you?
just find a very violent dog and lock them in the same room
Yeah,
together.
or your dad's old.
Well, no,
It's
that's
like,
that's not the way to do that.
no.
Huh? How did your father get locked in here? That's a bad way to do it. But
I've never seen this dog in my life.
The dog did it.
okay. Anyways,
The dog locked himself in the room with my dad.
I got it from a circus.
yeah. Anyways, yeah, he could figure out this by himself, of course.
Or sabotage a plane or whatever, or a train.
I mean, at this point, you gotta wonder if it's really about killing his dad, or if he's got this weird fetish with Guy going on.
Maybe. Oh, that you know what? It actually, in the book, there was homoerotic subtext with Bruno for Guy in the book written by Patricia What's-Her-Face. So that makes sense. That's supposed to be there, but was not obviously focused on in the movie.
Did you really focus on that in a movie back
makes
then
more
at this
sense.
point?
No.
You wouldn't typically know.
What was
Not
the name
in
of the book?
an American movie. Let's see. Let's go back. I'm on the wrong page now. No, I'm not. Here we go. Strangers on a Train. Promotion and release. I need the production. Okay.
Oh,
production,
Patricia Highsmith.
Patricia, whatever. And
Not to be confused with Hitchcock's daughter,
Hitchcock.
Patricia Hitchcock.
So Patricia Highsmith, yeah, novel. I think the novel is the same name. I have no idea. Okay, so
But they made a movie 1 year after the novel release. That's pretty outrageous.
that's not untypical of Hollywood. I mean, especially during this time period, looking for
Right, it fit the mold, so they were
Right.
like, oh, yeah. She probably wrote it to try and get it picked up by movies, you know.
Oh no, there was a treatment written by Whitefield Cook based off of the novel, who wove a homoerotic subtext only hinted at in the novel into the story and softened Bruno from a coarse alcoholic into a dapper, charming mama's boy. Look, they kept that a little bit. They had a
Yeah,
weird.
No,
They definitely kept
absolutely. He definitely came off as
Yeah.
soft-ish, but also
Right.
totally sort of so.
There's definitely, I mean, you got a little bit of the homoerotic, and maybe him having. Like,
Of
a
course,
thing
he's
for-
fawning over the tennis player.
Yeah,
and-
he's of course. That's typical. It's almost like the Talented Mr. Ripley, how he like falls in love with the Jude Law character, and then he like takes over his life.
I never saw that movie.
It's interesting. I don't know. I don't remember it being that
He's
good.
also super into Anne's sister, just because she had glasses.
Right. He wanted
Right.
to choke her because he enjoyed killing
Yeah.
the wife.
It's
It
like,
seems
oh, your glasses remind me of this woman that
Right.
I killed.
Yeah. And then in the scene where he's like trying to explain to the woman how he would keep her quiet by choking her, then he looks at the sister and
Right.
just gets too
Starts
into it.
choking her.
Then chokes her. She freaks out and he passes out for some reason.
Yeah.
He gets too into it. He probably jizzed in his pants. Because if you know anything about serial killers, they
do that.
typically jizz in their pants when they kill somebody, and sometimes that's the only way they can jizz.
That's what the Lonely Island song is about.
Oh, I jizzed, yes, in my pants.
Up your street and just like collapsing. Just like, my ankles. It's like, what?
Yeah. And then I learned the magical power of shoe inserts.
Insert your shoe here.
That's my fetish.
Shoe inserts?
Yep. People inserting their shoes.
Shoe insertion.
Yes.
Oh.
One shoe in my goo.
No,
No, you like fucking shoes?
yeah.
Yep.
No, I like getting fucked by shoes.
Exactly. Okay. So Sunset Boulevard, 1950, Billy Wilder. So yeah. Just real quick, Billy Wilder, he's from Germany. He made films in the 20s and 30s in Germany, and his parents were killed in the Holocaust. Ouch.
Ooh. That'll make you do some sketchy
So
films.
obviously we all liked Sunset Boulevard, right?
Mhm.
It's awesome.
No,
good.
hated it.
You did not like it. You hated it. Hated it.
I'm just kidding. I take that
I know.
back.
It is awesome. It's just an awesome movie. It's just so dark, so creepy, so much creepier than I would expect from this time period in Hollywood.
It was pretty creepy. I also think like the pacing and everything, it was just really good.
Right. Like, and just
The pacing is my only problem with the movie.
I just thought it was so well. It's
How
just
was the pacing wrong?
slow burn.
It like flowed perfectly.
Yeah.
The storytelling was
So
like,
slow.
if this
Like-
beyond anything else, this could win an award
Like you
just
knew
for
what was
storytelling.
happening.
Mhm.
You knew what was happening, and it just kept happening for an hour.
That was amazing.
But
You didn't really
it's a
know. You didn't
slow
know everything that
descent
was
into
happening.
madness, though.
You knew he was gonna die at the end, but you didn't.
Right. You did know he was going to die, but you didn't know exactly how it would
I
go
sort of wish
down.
they had kept that out.
Right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they
wasn't
could've.
that crazy about the knowing in advance that he was going to die, but it didn't really matter.
It didn't really matter until the end when she had the gun, and it's like, okay,
Right.
she's gonna shoot him.
I think, but that's
was
a
the only time I
noir
ever thought
trope,
about that.
though. It's like the fatalism, like everyone's going to die, and they just started that way. They're like, yeah, this guy dies, everybody dies. No, nothing ever works out for anybody. That's what this movie's about.
Yeah, no, I think it was a good way to start it because it was like kind of bleak.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense for this movie. I just think, I think that's the credos of film noir. Is like nothing ever works out. Everybody dies.
Mm.
Like,
I think it was neat that they never really like. I mean, they alluded to the fact that, like, yeah, all right, he's like, she's like his sugar mama, and
Right.
like, yeah, they're banging, but
No,
they
it
never
was
like
very
they never
clear.
banged.
They did bang. It was very clear.
must.
It was clear when they did bang. It's because after she tried to kill herself and he came back and they like embrace, and it's obvious that he's like, okay, I'll give you the dick. After he goes to that party,
I don't think that was
dude,
clear
if you watch that scene, it's pretty clear that
I think it was pretty clear.
he's gonna fuck her. That's happening.
Well,
And then
I thought it was
afterwards-
pretty clear that
afterwards-
he was like, all right, I'm gonna stay and be this thing for you.
And then afterwards,
Right,
he's like, they're like, he's getting out of the pool, he's almost naked.
Yeah,
and
But,
she's
like,
like,
he
she's
becomes
like,
the,
he didn't bang her the night she fucking cut her
Yeah,
wrist.
he did. That's what I think.
That's what I think,
for
too.
Sure what I
That
think.
would
Yeah.
have made for poor sex.
He deserved
Well,
to
yeah,
die,
but he doesn't care. She probably just laid there and was like thrilled. She had like three husbands. Or this would be her fourth if they ended up getting married. But yeah, so yeah.
Oh, Max, the
So many-
butler there.
Dude.
Right, and that's like what happened to the other two husbands.
Who maybe
Right.
they got killed, or maybe they got turned into a chimp, which was an interesting like
Right,
foreshadowing of
opening,
like Michael
yeah.
Jackson, like kind of like she just
Yeah.
happens to have she's a lonely woman who buys a chimp to like fill the hole.
Right, and her
Oh.
home is basically a menagerie of fucking weirdness.
Yeah,
you know?
and her like forgotten fame. But this movie is extremely meta, like in so many different ways. The best ways are as follows. So Gloria Swanson is a real silent film actress who really was at this point has been, and this movie was really her comeback, or return or whatever. But she wasn't actually like a crazy psycho diva. Obviously, that she just was an old silent film star who hadn't worked in a long time when this film came out. But they used her for that purpose, so older people would see her and be like, okay, I know that face, and it fits with the story because she really was a silent film actress, and all the old film footage they used was really films she did.
oh shit.
Also, William Holden, who played Joe Gills, he was in a film called, what was it called? Anyway, I don't remember the name of it. It doesn't matter. I think it was called Greed or Goldmine or something. He was in one of those. Anyway, he that was 10 years earlier, so his career had gone down the tubes by that point. And he was kind of washed up. I mean, he wasn't a writer, but he was definitely washed up. So Golden Boy was the film he was in 10 years earlier. And also Eric, the biggest one is Eric von Stroheim.
Yeah.
The director.
Wait. Let's give him his full name here, which is, let me find it, Eric Oswald Hans Karl Maria von Stroheim.
Holy shit.
Wow, that's almost as long as Beto O'Rourke's real name, Robert Francis O'Rourke.
Eric Oswald Hans
Right.
Karl Maria von Stroheim.
But that guy really was an old-time director, silent
Yes.
film director, and he really did use Gloria Swanson in his films. In fact, one of the films he made with Gloria Swanson, that was the one, was Queen Kelly, was one of his last films, and it did horribly in the box office, fucked up his career as a director, so he goes down the tubes, and Gloria Swanson. So when obviously by the time this movie came out, it was said that they were like talking again and it was okay, but they hated each other. Like in real life, Gloria Swanson and Eric von Stroheim, the guy who plays
So
Max.
his movie Greed is supposed to be fucking awesome.
Is that well? It might be awesome, but like as far as Hollywood was concerned, that was one of the films that like took him down.
Really?
That and Queen Kelly, yeah. That's what it just said in the. I watched
100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, that doesn't mean that it did well in its time.
That's true.
Like
but-
it's just perspective now. I mean, it could have destroyed his career and been respected. Now that happens all the time.
And the fucking art is fucking dope.
I'd like to see it.
Wait, how do you get 100% on Rotten Tomatoes?
That's happened. I've seen. There's tons
It's
of films
cheated.
with,
Cheaty
especially old films. A lot of times will have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it
Oh,
looks
okay.
awesome. But yeah, the documentary I watched said that he like in making Greed and Queen Kelly were the ones that Hollywood really didn't like, so he didn't direct after that.
They must have been too creepy and not socio-normative enough.
Right, which is interesting because this movie is very creepy and not socio-normative and involves sex and involves all
The
that
sex,
stuff.
Was more
They don't show
implied.
it. They can't show it, but
His
it's there.
masterpiece adaptation of Frank Norris's McTeague, titled Greed, is considered one of the finest and most important films ever made,
I'm sure
according
it
to
is.
Wikipedia.
Yeah,
Well, shit. Maybe we should.
but according to the documentary I watched,
I mean, it's
it didn't do well when it
1928
came out.
silent film.
Okay, so it's not really.
It's not film noir,
Right.
but it looks
Also-
like it would fit.
Also, Sunset Boulevard
By
is
the art.
David Lynch's favorite film, which makes a lot of sense, especially because when I was watching it with Jeff, if you look at the what is it, the pool house, the garage house, the little house he
garage.
lives in, it looks almost exactly like the room in Eraserhead. Like it's very similar in terms of wallpaper and where the bed is placed and stuff. Looks
It's
a lot
very
like it.
bare.
Yeah.
It's
Also
it's
reminds me of
not what a
Sabrina.
guest room should look like.
Sabrina? The Teenage Witch?
No.
What do you mean, the movie Sabrina? Which I
Yeah.
haven't seen. I've never seen
Yeah.
that. Is that that's a
it's
Billy
like-
Wilder movie, I think.
I don't know. Aubrey Hepburn.
Yep, that's a Billy Wilder movie.
Okay.
Or if not him, then one of these other guys who are. Let's
Like
look it
she's
up.
like the she's
I
the
know it-
chauffeur's
mhm.
daughter, and like the rich guy's son falls in love with her, and the
Mhm.
other one doesn't fall in love with her, but he's like trying to marry her to make the other one jealous or something.
Mhm. I think that's a Wilder movie.
And then they remade it with like Harrison Ford. And
Oh yeah, I've seen like previews or I've seen that, but
Harrison Ford.
I've seen Harrison Ford.
yeah. I saw him today in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So that pool shot in the beginning, how they used a mirror to do that. I don't know. I
Really?
I just assumed
I was like, he's just
They had
dude's
underground-
floating there for.
no. The shot is of the mirror, and he's I guess maybe he's on glass or something. I don't know what they. I just looked to me like they just filmed under glass, like a layer of water, a layer of glass, and another layer. That's what it looked like to me, but it wasn't.
Oh, so yeah, they.
I think it was just him
they
laying
had
on-
like a pool with like glass floor.
Mm-hmm.
Or a mirrored floor
Right.
at an angle so that they could catch the.
It would have to be a mirror on a mirror.
Oh, you can't really like
You could have
capture image that clear through water, especially water reflected.
Well, not then.
Well, no, you could. You could also have a mirror on the bottom of a pool, and you could have the camera that could be submerged in water. That's
Right.
Water.
They didn't.
They didn't
I'm
have
sure
that.
that.
They,
I'm
didn't-
sure
they filmed
didn't have that.
from the side of the pool. I think they had a mirror on the bottom of the pool, and they were filming that mirror. And he was laying on top of a piece of glass, and they filmed the mirror at the bottom, or maybe used a second mirror. I don't know how they did it. All I know is they used a mirror, and that the camera was on the side of the pool.
Okay.
That's all that
Yeah,
they
they
said.
didn't have submersible cameras.
Right. Also, to go back to, speaking of which, clever
They could have made one
technology
specifically
things.
for
There's a
something.
mention of in Strangers on a Train of him driving blindfolded at 150
Oh, yeah.
miles an hour.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think that was even possible during that time period. Maybe it was.
Driving
Oh,
on
sure.
Well, yeah, they had V8s, which could go up to like probably 100 at that time. They had V8s in the 30s.
Right. No, that's true.
But they probably couldn't go that high then. They probably went like 70, 80. But
All right. Screw my notes.
burn the notes!
Screw your notes,
Fuck
Jeff.
burn.
Ah!
We don't need notes. We don't need no stinking notes.
Wait, this is 1950. You say you went 150 miles?
Yeah.
150 miles an hour.
That was 51. Strangers on a Train.
Ah, that seems reasonable.
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, they had fucking.
I mean,
they had fucking
maybe
jet
going
planes.
downhill, you could be in
They had jet
fucking
planes.
Death Valley.
Clearly understood the physics of.
Right. He was a rich guy. He had access to whatever car, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Faux shizzy.
Right. So like right off the bat, we get it's going for some fucking weird direction before we even meet
Gloria, or not Gloria, I mean
Norma.
Norma Desmond.
Yeah, we know it's going for some shit.
When he
because,
pulls into her house?
No, when the insurance people are chasing him,
Yeah.
and he asks Mr. Sheldrake, an honest movie producer, which
Right.
I'm sure was not the case during this time period.
No, it probably didn't exist.
Yeah, he seemed like
And-
a really nice guy.
But you
Right.
know, have you ever
Or at
seen,
least he really liked
he
this
liked
guy.
yeah,
He
he
liked
liked Joe. But I mean, there's a newer Coen Brothers comedy called Hail Caesar, which is supposed to be this era, and the main character is Josh Brolin, plays a producer, and their job basically is to keep the whole place from falling apart. And they all, like you said, he has a set of ulcers to prove it. So basically, they're just like these huge organizers, and they have to yell at everybody. And like, basically, the plot of Hail Caesar is half of them are joining the Communist Party, and like trying to go on strike. And Josh Brolin character just shows up and slaps George Clooney around and says, "Stop with that spouting that commie, blah blah blah, blah, and come make my movie." And he's like, "Okay, I'm coming." Like,
But yeah.
Yeah, there's sort of a crisscross element with this too. Initially, like Joe, you sort of feel bad for Joe because
Yeah.
he's sort of like locked into what he thinks is swindling,
Right.
Norma,
right.
but she's definitely swindling
She's
him.
swindling.
Way
I think he knows he's
harder.
being taken
And that-
advantage of when she has all his stuff brought to the room, and he's like, "Why did you bring all my stuff here? I don't want to fucking live here he's initially he's swindling her by offering to turn her script into something decent, which he knows is impossible because it's like he says it's like looks
it's
like a child
antiquated.
wrote it and it's ridiculous. So, but he starts to get the idea that it's the other way when she starts bringing his stuff in and
That kind of thing. But
Right, he's locked in.
I mean, like, the first thing she did, she was like, I paid for your apartment for the next 3 months, and
right.
I paid your car, and blah, blah, blah.
Like, I fucked basically a nice way of saying
He didn't pay
I
for the
own
car.
you. It's
She
like,
didn't pay for the car because they ended up coming and taking the car.
oh, they did take the car, basically, which was kind of like Misery, like it's like he says earlier in the movie. It's like, you take my car, you take my legs. He lives in L.A., which is highly disconnected, and if you don't have a car and you live in L.A., you can't do anything.
It is very Misery-like now that you
Yeah,
mention
she
it.
hobbles him by getting his car taken, and obviously doesn't care. She's playing bridge.
which is
Oh,
interesting.
Bridge is a cool-ass fucking game, Mark. We
Never
gotta
played
fucking
it.
play this.
I was actually wondering
Partners.
if I would ever want to play it while I was watching it, because you always see old people playing bridge, but
They know
they
something.
like to party. They learn things,
Bridge sounds like a great night.
I've never played bridge.
Me, obviously.
Oh.
It's a complicated game.
Oh, check it out. Here's some more
Metadata for you. So the Waxworks, the people she plays bridge with, those were all famous silent film people. So you had Buster Keaton was one of them. Who else?
Cecil B.
Anna,
DeMille, right?
Anna,
Well, he
he's
was-
in
Oh,
it.
he played himself.
He's not one of the
he
Waxworks.
played
So
himself.
Anna Q. Nilsson, another silent film actress. H.B. Warner was a big one.
I think I most remember him. I think he was the guy in the episode of The Twilight Zone when he makes his relatives wear masks because they're all like grifters, shitheads.
But yeah, so apparently he made a movie with, I think, DeMille that got him fucked over really bad. So yeah, so what?
Sounds like it's pretty dangerous making films. This
Yeah, no,
era.
it's this movie is supposed to be about how corrupt Hollywood is, which is why when Billy Wilder was making it,
He was thinking like, this might not get made.
and
People
there
are
were-
gonna fucking hate me.
Yeah, people are gonna hate me, and there were people who came. Artist Holden said, or not, no, that's somebody else, but somebody, some mogul, some big producer.
Well, the
was like,
mafia
"Fuck this
still
movie."
had their hands in part of Hollywood at this
Sure,
point,
yes,
right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Right.
But another interesting thing. So the house they used was
Wait,
actually.
what did he say?
What?
He
What
said,
did he say? I actually didn't end up finding it.
oh, okay.
Maybe I just. Wait. Oh yeah, Louis B. Mayer. Who, so I think that's Metro-Goldwyn Mayer. He hated it. He approached Wilder after
After the screening and just said, "You bastard," like just because he just felt like he was shitting all over his empire,
So that's interesting. So yeah, Wilder worried that the film would be taken as a betrayal of Hollywood, which had given him
Basically everything. He lived in Germany. He was Jewish. He escaped the Holocaust. I think he was probably one of the kinder. Well, he's probably too old to be among those the kinder transplant, whatever it was called, where they took all the
little.
obviously didn't take all of them. They took many of the
youth of German Jewish people.
Talking about the the experimental.
No, I'm not talking about Mengele. I'm talking about, or is that Mengele who did the experiments?
Yes.
Yeah, he did with the eugenics and everything. No, there was the Kinder Transport. That's what it was called, where it was just a big effort just before the Holocaust really got into full swing to get as many kids out as they could.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't think he was one of them because he would have been too old for that. But he was Jewish. He must have went into hiding or something because both of his parents were killed in the Holocaust. Billy Wilder, that is. But so yeah, it's about the corruption of Hollywood overall. I mean, that's obvious, but it's also about like what it does to individuals, smashes their dreams, and like, I mean, and
Multiple personality
Right.
disorders, wishing they were somebody else, like
Right.
the Charlie Chaplin scene.
yeah,
I
that'll
mean-
sketchy.
Norma
Oh,
tried to kill herself like
right, several
6
times.
times at least. Well,
And all of them very poor attempts, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
She didn't want. She wanted. She was attention seeking, as with everything else. So, yeah, but
I mean, we talked about Max and the person that actually played Max, Eric von Stroheim. Eric, Maria, blah 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 von Stroheim.
yeah,
But yeah, so he was her first husband, and he just like lived there as her fucking
butler. She just
butler, like more than butler, just like
her
fucking
just
servant,
her
like-
caretaker. Yeah, did everything for her. He was her little bitch. She'd broken up with him, and he came back to like take care of her every
But
whim, get her
at the
dudes
end,
to fuck,
you know,
just whatever.
In the end, he was like, "All right, we just gotta do this. This will get her down."
Yeah,
and
he knew.
Like he was saving her while,
yeah,
throwing her in. And
Exactly.
Like, I like to think though they never showed it. Like he just like told them exactly how it was. Like, look, she was just like she just trapped this guy here and drove him crazy, and
Yeah.
then he decided to leave, so she killed him.
Seems plausible, but it's definitely the case that he knew that she was in a deep psychosis, and she would think that it was a movie when she saw all the press cameras and stuff, and she walks down the stairs, and that whole scene. Apparently, that scene was done in 1 or 2 shots, which you'd think they would know if it was one shot, but they didn't. They just said in the documentary I watched it was done in 1 or 2 shots.
I mean,
One
it was
takes,
either the first shot or the second shot that you saw. Like it was all one shot.
one take, yeah.
So they either did it once or twice.
Yeah, they either it was one shot. They either did 1 or 2 takes of it, but.
It's a lot of it's pretty difficult to get that many people back acting how you want.
They just had to stand there.
Yeah, they just-
Right,
stood
but
there and looked at her.
that looked
They just stood there.
almost. I mean, I know they were going for that like ethereal quality. It's like
Right. Speaking
the
of
the former goddess is like descending into or transcending.
Right.
Whichever way you want to look at it.
Right. So speaking of ethereal, apparently something they did in this movie. So Olsen, all I remember is that the woman who played Betty Schaefer. I don't remember her first name. Her name's Olsen though, and they used to call her Wholesome Olsen, which is she's just like super just hometown type of girl, which is why they wanted her for this movie. But she said that they took out the cinematographer took out something that looked like hummus at one point in his hand and then blew it into the air just so the whole apartment would look dusty, which is, I mean,
It's asbestos.
might have been asbestos for sure. And so during all the interior shots, there's this asbestos-y stuff lingering in the air that they're filming, which looks really cool. And just makes it look
It's probably
extra hazy.
vermiculite actually.
That's
ground
what
up
I was thinking,
vermiculite.
vermiculite, because that would look a little bit like hummus maybe. But for sure. Delicious vermiculite. But yeah, I mean, Gloria Desmond. Norma Desmond was very much based on Gloria Swanson because she had was on her fifth. She was on her 5th husband when this film got made, and when she got the job, she immediately divorced her 5th husband. She was like, "Well, fuck this guy, I'm out of here," and came back to Hollywood. To
This
make a
movie's
movie.
gonna get me a better one.
Yeah, probably. That's what she was thinking. She's gonna bang somebody even younger now, for sure.
And I mean, it might have worked. Yeah, it grossed pretty well, apparently.
I mean, Wilder was doing great at this time. I mean, he had just made Double Indemnity. He had won an Oscar for The Lost Weekend. He had made Major and The Minor. So he was doing awesome at this time period. And Double Indemnity, I can't say enough about. That's a great noir movie. It's not this. This just has some atmosphere to it that just makes it incredible. And it's just there's so many cool meta things about it, and it's just so creepy, and just the way she like talks through her teeth the whole movie, which is interesting. I thought about that because this movie seems very weird, and I mean very over the top. But if you look at it through the lens of the fact that all those silent film stars, and even some of the later stars like Julie Garland were big into amphetamines, and there's over a long period of time that can make you very paranoid, delusional. So if she was popping amphetamines this whole time, that would make a lot of sense, especially the talking through the teeth thing. If you ever been with someone who's like a meth head, they start talking like this a lot and just kind of don't open their teeth very often.
Well, you see, actually, I didn't think it was really, especially from, like a millennial point of view, I didn't think it was over the top really at all. That I thought it was very measured and ultra believable, because I've absolutely seen this sort of shit go down before.
People definitely.
But she was definitely exaggerated in like the way she talked and her.
Right, but that's totally believable for an actor. I mean, I don't know any actresses.
I think
I'm not saying it's not
right,
somewhat believable, but it's not. That's not even for actors. It's not. There's something over the top about the way she was acting.
Yeah, but I think if you take into account that she might have been on amphetamines, you could kind of say that maybe it's right on the money. Like, maybe people do descend into
She's had that sleep depravity.
Yeah, just the paranoia that
That'll
comes with
fucking
that.
do it,
She's
right?
super jealous and just
Like
crazy
hasn't-
as fuck.
She slept like 2 hours in the past week.
And, I mean, obviously she knows
That's
that
not
he's
good.
gone every night because she's not sleeping at all, and he's going off to write a movie with.
I
Betty
didn't even
Schaefer.
think about that.
Which is interesting because you immediately, when he goes to that party, is a good scene. Just
Yeah,
generally
the-
the party.
The New Year's Eve party.
They're like, oh yeah, it's spiked, whatever.
Where everyone's just getting hammered and he's having that banter with Schaefer.
Where he almost fucked her right there.
Yeah, it was getting very close to something
It's
happening.
like,
and it's
hey.
his buddy's fiance, and even as things go on, it's kind of like it's a Hollywood relationship. They're not that attached to one another. Can I have that, please? But yeah, so and then later you have the balcony scene, which apparently I don't know what this contest is, but Olsen was talking about. There was some contest for most romantic scene, and this balcony scene with her won. And Holden's wife was there while this was being filmed. She showed up that day, and just before it happened, Billy Wilder came up to Olsen and was like, "Okay, I want you guys to embrace after the kiss, and it's gonna seem like for too long, but it's because of the way I'm filming it, and I want it to dissolve. So don't stop until I say cut." And so they did that, but then it was going on for a long time, and then they heard Holden's wife, which was what was her name? Artist Holden, and she screamed from off the side of the camera, "Cut, damn it, cut!" So she was pretty pissed.
Wow. I did not see that. But that's probably why it was super uncomfortable. Super uncomfortable between
But
them.
it was a long scene. I don't remember if there was in fact a dissolve or not.
No,
I mean,
there wasn't.
So why he said that, I don't know. Maybe it was just to annoy Holden's wife. But
Maybe
Right? What a fucking
maybe she fucked it up because she's yelled in the background.
Right,
Maybe
he
she
wanted
did,
it to like culminate and just
Yeah,
like some
but-
ew,
right.
and some ew stuff.
Which, I mean, it's just... And now speaking in terms of the actual
And they just couldn't do it again because tensions were so fucking high.
artist, Holden is just
It's
sitting
like,
over
you
there.
need to fucking leave, wife.
Yeah, get out of here, artist.
Why are you
What kind of
even
name
here?
is artist?
I mean, they
anyway?
did there was like a sort of embrace at the end, and then it was kind of somewhat sort of extended.
Yeah,
It
they
wasn't
kiss, and then there's a little embrace, and that's it.
Yeah.
But it's very romantic. It takes place on a balcony, which is inarguably a
right,
romantic setting.
and also there's like this weird sort of age twist, which would definitely be like today you wouldn't even think twice about a 30-year-old dating a 22-year-old.
You wouldn't think it then. It was still
I
very.
don't know.
It was still very common for women
30,
to marry
22?
older men back then, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All the
So
time.
I think
Yeah, totally.
at certain ages it changes. So like a 32-year-old and a 40-year-old, nothing, whatever. But a 30-year-old and a 22-year-old?
I don't think that was unusual.
No, it wasn't.
I really don't think.
That
it
wasn't I'm not saying it's unusual.
I don't think it. Yeah,
I think if anything, people
think
would
that's-
say more about it now.
I think
but
that's-
back then, people would just.
I think it's almost like just been the way it is for a long time.
Traditionally, older men definitely got younger women.
The tradition
establish themselves in some sort of
this is-
fashion. And
yeah, this
some
is all
way,
really in
and they're
biology,
Like, hey,
really.
I'm all up and ready, and
Yeah.
I need a young, fertile thing
Exactly.
that'll fucking rear
Right.
my brood. And
This is yeah.
And he would be supposedly he would have established himself as whatever profession he was in by that point. I mean, by his 30s, he should be where he's gonna be.
A guy wanted to sort of break that.
And women didn't
symmetry.
really work back then. I mean, obviously they did in this movie because she was a reader who wanted to be a writer, but
Right. For whatever reason, he felt like he should break like the social sort of norm for the moviegoers.
well, who did though?
A guy, he was like, "Yo, if I ever kiss you again, slap me."
You mean
across
Joe?
Joe.
But that was because of I think it was implied that it's because of his friend was engaged to her. I don't think it enters into it. that the
Yeah, I don't
age
think age had anything. Yeah, it's because that's his that's his friend.
Okay.
You're gonna feel fucked up.
Okay.
I mean, just think 30 years earlier, you have what's his name? I mean, the writer, the major horror writer of all time. I'm blanking
H.P.
out.
Lovecraft?
No, the other one. Before H.P. Lovecraft, this
Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar Allan Poe. Thank you. I don't know why it escaped my mind. Marries this 14-year-old cousin, and was that the late 1800s, maybe early 1900s. So, and this is the 50s. I mean, it's not that long after. There was a time period where it was acceptable for a 40-year-old man to marry a 13 or 14-year-old girl, and it wasn't this time period, but
There's still places where that is acceptable.
Right. That's
it was
acceptable
considered
apparently
It was
now.
probably weird if it was your cousin and so forth, but people still were like, all right.
I don't know. Maybe not in the 18th.
All right.
If you insist, I guess.
Oh,
we're
they
not-
must be really well off.
Yeah.
They must be really high class
So
to
that
be
they don't
marrying their cousin.
Because they want
who's
to keep
only
the blood
14
pure,
years.
and
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
those recessive genes coming out wherever they can. These fucking triple-eyed
Blue eyes
babies
and
3 feet.
12 toes.
So yeah, apparently DeMille and Swanson were actually, they did make a lot of movies together, and they were very close, but hadn't seen each other. And he calls her young fella for some reason. He calls her in the movie, but he also, that's what his nickname, his pet name for her was young fella for
Cute.
Swanson. Yeah, so that was weird. That we should talk about that scene when she goes and actually visits. And they really wanted the car, and they keep calling, and she thinks they want her in her shitty script.
Right.
And she shows up, and what I like best about that scene is when everyone's just fawning over her with the spotlight on her, DeMille shows up and he says, "Put that spotlight back where it belongs," which is not on Norma Desmond. Doesn't belong on her. Her time has passed. I just thought that was interesting and a very what do you call that when someone says?
I thought it was interesting when he said,
appropriate.
I'll buy you 6 cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's we don't need that car. I'll buy you as many as you want.
which is he almost seems to know it's he knows there's something up with Norma Desmond because she wrote this crazy fucking script.
And then she showed up and
Right, and also
was crazy.
the movie that they watched when she was showing him movies in her little home theater was Queen Kelly, which was directed by Eric von Stroheim.
Oh.
Which is interesting. Yeah, it's weird because you couldn't have made this movie any other way other than to use the real people. It feels like, and they did, and they're actually it had to be weird to be asked to be in it for Gloria Swanson. We want you to play a has-been, a loser, not too different from what you're used to, I'm sure. And she was into it, I'm sure maybe she wasn't completely into it.
Maybe she read the script beforehand.
I'm sure she did, but for everything I heard she was a fairly nice. Everything I heard in the documentary and read, she was a fairly nice person. She wasn't a psycho diva this character.
Right. Apparently, she was the least psycho diva of the washed-up has-beens of that time period.
They're all probably genuinely crazy.
Apparently, that was an amalgamation of a bunch of different silent movie female actresses. That sort of persona of destiny.
I think the idea is when everyone has to be fake, like they are in Hollywood, hey, love you, and then as soon as you stop making the money, they're like, oh, who are you? Fuck you. That can make people not sure what's real anymore, and in mass,
especially as a child actor. or
child
somebody
actors
in the
are the most fucked up because they have a very little understanding of how real, what love is, or like what affection.
Even early 20s, like you don't know what the fuck the world is in your early 20s,
No.
you know.
No, but especially for kids who grew up in Hollywood, tend to be off because they don't understand human relationships. They only know when people are getting something they want from you, like money, they seem to love you, but that's not real love. That's just Hollywood love, which is different. Which I think, this movie's talking about how
It is?
fake Hollywood is, which makes sense because they make fucking movies, which is not real. So we talked about the New Year's Eve party. Oh, we didn't actually. We talked about the other party. What about the New Year's Eve party she sets up for?
No, we did talk about that.
We talked about his friend's party, but we didn't talk about the New Year's Eve party where it was just him and her.
Just him and her.
Oh, okay.
Before he
and the
leaves.
band and Max.
Yeah, when he thinks that it's going to be a party with a bunch of people and nobody else shows
Right,
up.
at
It's
least
just-
She bought
the
him all
wax
these
works.
clothes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you have to have a 3-piece suit with tails.
Yeah.
What about New Year's
Fucking
Eve?
baller,
What
dude.
about New Year's
Dude, I need a
Eve?
fucking 3-piece suit with some goddamn tails.
I would
look
rock
terrible
that
in
shit.
I
We
would
should-
not ever wear it.
We should
I don't look
matching
good in
shit.
tux.
Wait, so a 3-piece suit is just a
Date
so you have
somewhere.
the,
Fancy
You
tux.
gotta have
is this
one
the,
of these.
the
cummerbund.
coat, the shirt, and the
Yeah.
pants? Is that what the
Cummerbunds.
3-piece means?
Yeah, I think
cummerbunds,
so.
Okay.
tails, you and me,
With tails?
date,
I gotta get a watch.
New Year's Eve. Pocket
It's a
watch?
Date. I'll wear like a band T-shirt, a flannel.
I gotta
Some
install
jeans.
these little PC
Some Converse
fans in my
chucks.
armpits though, so I don't like sweat all up over it.
So mod. So the New Year's
So
Eve.
steampunk.
What was I gonna say about what the best part of? This wasn't the New Year's Eve scene, but when he's buying the shit for the New Year's Eve party, like when the guy's like, as long as the lady's paying, why not? Why not go
Right.
for the whatever? And it's like,
So, like, yeah, the
no
camel
kid-
hair is
he's seen this
nice.
shit before. He's seen it not just for Norma Desmond. He's like,
That was
sees
kind
it.
of awkward because then the guy's like, it's like smiles for
Yeah.
like a minute.
Yeah.
He thinks it's
like
cool.
this.
He's like, yeah,
And he's
take
got like
advantage,
the little
bud. This is
pedo
Hollywood.
mustache too.
Yeah.
He's like got the John Waters
yeah.
look. Speaking of which, Cecil B. DeMille, Cecil B. Demented.
Hey, that's a movie I haven't seen in a long time because it's kind of like John Waters. Like,
I'm thinking,
Too much
I've just been
movie.
thinking,
Too
like,
over the
when are
top.
we going to
Too
watch this
unreal.
movie for this podcast? It's
What?
going to happen.
what? Cecil B. Demented or
Cecil B. Demented.
yeah.
Well, it's
I'm
like,
sure
it's
we'll
got
do
to
John
happen.
Waters at some point. Here's the thing: I had a teacher
Right.
who
We'll
did a
do
thing
John
called
Waters.
Noirvember, where he'd watch a bunch of noir films during November. So it would have been cool if we would have waited, or we could still do it. Just watch a bunch of noir films.
Yeah, we could do
during
that.
November, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Because there's, it's inexhaustible.
And we
There's
can
a lot of
also
really good
we
obscure
could,
ones.
and we can also not shave
No Shember,
and not nut.
Noirvember, Noir Noshember,
And nut.
and everything. Yeah. But
Okay.
also, what was I gonna say? Oh, he was that teacher was the one who talked about I Wake Up Screaming, which I was going to pick, which I still haven't seen, which seems like a good movie to watch for.
Is that the Nick Blanco shit?
No,
No.
no.
Primal Screamer.
I Wake Up
Primal
Is that what you
Screamer.
think of?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I was like, there's a movie adaptation.
there should be. There should be. That would be like an excellent film. The Primal
You've
Screamer.
read it, right?
I've read it like 6 times.
I have not read it.
It's so good.
Do you have it? Do
I-
you still have it?
Yeah, I have it.
Just
I bought it a couple times.
Give
I
it to
lost
me.
it once, and I'll give it to you. But yeah, I always thought that would make an excellent film because it's from the perspective of the Nathaniel Knoxville, who's Nick Blanco's alter ego in the book, from the perspective of the therapist. It's his journals about this one patient, and that would be a great movie. Just and you get to see all the music happening and like the patient saying he's like, I gotta buy a fuzz pedal now, and he starts his band. And then there's a riot breaks out when they record the Room to Shapina self-titled EP. Apparently they were in a room,
That's some
soundproof
of
room.
the best music ever made.
Of course. But when they were recording RPEP, they were in a soundproof room, so they didn't know what was happening. But right outside the studio while they were recording that, a riot broke out. Obviously, people couldn't hear it, so it was unrelated, but it's just a weird coincidence. But that would be great for a movie.
Well, it's just
And just
some,
the music
like,
in
EU
general.
protest
'Cause
shit.
the book goes from them forming the band till Death Church comes out, and then some unreal things happen that I won't tell you because you haven't read it. But it's very cool. It's very cool. It's a very cool like rock biopic plus weird surreal macabre writing mixed together.
You know, I think Cacophony might be my favorite album of all time.
It's definitely up there for me, for sure. It's my
Definitely
favorite. It's
top
my
three.
favorite Richard Pina album, absolutely.
Well,
It's
absolutely.
awesome. And it's just like they went
But
from
like,
punk to like
it's
high,
definitely top 3 of
highbrow
all
concept
time.
album. And it's like it's basically like it's a prog album. A punk-ish prog album. Punk prog.
Prog punk.
Prog punk, pretty much. And you don't hear a lot of that out there. I mean, yeah, it's obviously beyond post-punk because it's a concept album for one. It's got all these different riffs. It's got all these different styles of music, which is what prog is meant to be. For sure. Okay. So one final scene we should talk about is the stairway scene, which we talked about. Well, we already talked about it, but yeah, that was just really cool. And that classic line is
The
like,
classic line.
Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up now. But everyone always says, I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. They mix it up for some reason, which I find is true for like most iconic quotes. Is they get mixed up. Like, No Time for Love, Dr. Jones. It's not that. It's Dr. Jones, No Time for Love. We got company. But yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful scene.
You're talking about Short Round?
I'm talking about Temple of
Doom,
baby.
Short Round, motherfucker.
Oh yeah, right. Short Round. Yep. Or Data from Goonies. Same kid.
Data?
Data. He
Data.
played Short Round in Temple of Doom.
Not in Star Trek.
No, not that Data. No. No, sir. So they originally wanted Montgomery Clift to play William Holden. I don't even really know who he is, but supposedly they picked Holden or William Holden because he's like an all-American pretty boy. But it's weird. His character's weird because it's like hard to tell like if you like him or not, or if his what his level of morality actually even is. Or
That's good.
which is he's an ambiguous character.
I like that.
And the whole thing with Schaefer at the end, where he invites her to the house and is like, "Look, I'm a scumbag. What do you think?"
Yeah.
It's like him being noble, but also like he kind of comes off
Right, he flipped the script real quick. Like it could have went either way,
Right,
but
you
you
could've
knew
spent-
which way it was going to be because of the beginning.
Right.
right.
You know,
That's why they shouldn't have done that at the beginning, because he invited her over to show her everything at the end.
I agree.
You know?
I agree.
Like the whole end part makes the beginning part stupid.
I just think it's a different choice. I just think because
I mean,
obviously
it
it's
doesn't
different-
really
it's a
matter.
you
different
wouldn't
choice.
know.
I guess it doesn't really matter.
You wouldn't
but-
know what's going to happen next if they hadn't done that. You wouldn't able to infer that no, he wasn't going to end up with Schaefer. You could have said, hey, maybe he'll end up with Schaefer, and it would have been
Actually,
really.
it doesn't ruin the movie.
It
to know
does take
he's
a little
going
of the
to die,
disappointment away.
So.
If you were going to be disappointed that he didn't end up with Schaefer, that takes that away. Because
Right.
you know that's not possible unless there's some weird like sidestepping thing they could have been like, but it wasn't actually him the whole time.
It's
Somebody else accidentally got killed. They could have done that, but it was his
Right.
face, and he said it was him. So
right? I really wish in the beginning they had some like bloated, like absolute, like disgusting, rotting corpse in
but
the
he's only there
fucking
a day
pool.
though,
Right.
but because I mean,
But yeah, like if
That
you
would have
couldn't
been
really
if
tell
it was
who
unidentifiable.
that,
Then
yeah,
it
they
would've-
could have went any way with that.
Well, yeah, and he just has to. You can't say that's me dead.
But what am I? Who am I to question?
That is me. I am dead. Let me tell you the story. Let's go back 6 months.
Well, you didn't know he had to have died right then and there.
Right.
He could have died at a different point. He could have ended up with Schaefer and then came back and got killed later.
Schaefer could have killed him.
True. But like I said before, I think that was
That would have been great.
their way of saying like
I
this
would
is
have liked the movie that had gotten to that point where Schaefer killed him.
that would have been kick ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
Wow.
you've been hawking this story on me, like.
Pretty boy, you're dead. And the whole school teacher thing was a lie too. He was like, that was just another lie.
Let me show you how we do this where I come from, son. Bang, bang.
Yeah. Well, that was cute though. The whole them writing the thing together about the teachers.
I really wanted that to be a thing.
Yeah, of course you did. You
supposed
wanted
to.
them to get together
She's innocent
because
and she's plucky and she likes his work
she
as long
doesn't
as he's
take
telling
shit
the
from
truth.
him, but you know,
Yeah, right. She's
she
perfect.
still thinks he's great.
Right. And yeah. And the whole thing out, she's like, I don't like your writing because you're a liar. I like the true writing, which the thing about the teacher was supposedly true. And then they come up with the idea of what if they live in the same house because he teaches night school and she teaches day school, which is like a classic goofy like Hollywood romantic comedy at this point that they're writing, and probably would have done pretty well at the time, been forgotten over time. Not like Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
Unless one of the teachers was like some serial killer.
Yeah.
That's one of the teachers was like a washed up silent movie actress and lonely and
She used her art degree to teach kids.
yeah, and then she blackmails like this guy student.
One of her students.
Oh, she uses one of her childish student stories as the basis for.
Oh, yeah. You like you.
Dude.
I don't know where you guys are going with that.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm just agreeing.
Okay.
What do you mean you don't know? She fucks this little
forgot.
boy,
Right. There
takes
we
his
go.
story, sells it
She's
as
like,
her own.
you have to give me props on this story, or else I'm exposing you.
As a teacher
I'm
fucker.
like the opposite.
Prison.
This is not good. You can't be doing this.
Stop it. Stop.
This is so wrong. You're going to get in so much trouble. And she's the teacher. You got to listen to teacher.
You give me half the price.
What does that mean?
The price of the script.
Oh, the price of the script. Okay, got it.
Anyway.
So what was the name of his baseball movie he written? Was it Foul Balls or something stupid like that? Bases Loaded. That was
Bases loaded was it.
Foul
About a guy who has to.
That's like
That's
a
a
great.
porn, baseball porn. Foul Balls.
Or a grindcore band or something like that.
How do you spell that? It's gonna be Foul or Fowl.
FOWL. Foul Balls. Because it's like a black metal, blackened crust band about baseball.
So foul as in like chicken stuff.
Oh, yeah,
No.
that too. Well, yeah,
Could be.
right. Sure.
Foul.
Chickens.
What other meaning of foul is there?
Well, there's foul like disgusting.
That's Foul.
Well, right, but if you were in a black metal band, you would have to spell FOWL because I don't know, they just like to they spell things weird.
Okay,
I just picture it like that.
I got you.
Foul
It'd be FOW space LE.
hyphen.
Oh no, you could be. I could be like Old English. FOWL.
Foul the balls.
FOWLE, I like that.
Yeah.
Foul Balls, starring Adam Sandler.
BALLSE.
Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Foul ballsy.
It's pronounced foul balls.
See.
Foul Balls.
You thought Basketball was a mediocre movie.
It was a mediocre comedy. It was. Yeah, we should. I don't know.
Rap.
We should do Trey Parker or Matt Stone movies. You got
Oh.
Team America. You got Basketball, which was done alongside the Zucker brothers, and whatever the other one was. Not the Zucker, but the one who went on to make like Hot Shots and shit. Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2. and
Cannibal the musical.
They did Cannibal the Musical. That was their first. That was a college student film, which is not that unbelievable when
I
you
believe I
watch it.
still have the VHS.
I don't think I do, but I did at one point, and I really enjoyed watching it a lot. And it's like funny, and then there's like long stretches of just not funny or even interesting or anything. It's just very student filmy, student film comedy.
And then we'll throw in the producers.
Yeah, toss those cats in there.
Let's throw that
I still have never seen. Was it the musical? What's it called? Fuck. Their musical, Book of Mormon, the musical.
I haven't seen that
I
either.
want to see that.
I want to see that too. But it reminds me, there's a movie with Steve Coogan called Hamlet
we can
2.
also do
I think
South
that they were somewhat involved in.
Hamlet too.
It was hilarious. It's about like a high school drama teacher who decides to like make and he's like all these inner city kids, but it's a comedy, and they like give him acid at one point. It's weird. And then he makes this thing called Hamlet 2, and like Jesus is like, everyone's like, Jesus has swimmer's abs, and it's just weird. And Jesus is in it for some reason, but it's Hamlet 2, and they go to the future and then the past. There's a time machine, and yeah, it's awesome. Hamlet 2, you gotta catch it. If you can see it, do it. It's a great movie. But you don't hear too much about it.
I'll do it. I'm gonna do that.
Do it! Do it.
I do want to see the Book of Mormon.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, me too.
I do too.
You wanna go?
You should see Us also.
You wanna go?
Us.
Where we're already playing
do.
now.
I don't know.
Is it still playing in New York?
I feel like
on
I
the
started-
stage.
I don't know.
I'm sure you could just find like a copy of it and
Yeah,
I'm sure
probably
somebody's
do
got
that.
some.
watch a recording
On
of
YouTube.
I'm sure you can go to their website
watch
Yeah.
Book
and
of
just
Mormon.
like, oh, give us like $6.66.
I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. I mean, before like Hamilton, that's all anybody talked about was the Book of Mormon. For reals.
Which I have not seen
Hamilton.
either.
I haven't seen it either.
Before Hamlet. Oh, never mind. I don't know.
Hamlet. Hamlet.
I was gonna make a joke before Hamlet 2. All they talked about was Hamlet, but then now there's Hamlet 2. So now
So now nobody talks about that.
So now nobody's talking about either.
Seriously, that was a hilarious movie. I can't believe it didn't. Like nobody talks about it. It vanished off the face of the earth.
I never heard of it.
Poof.
I know.
That's
nobody
weird.
has.
Mhm.
It came out. It's like that other Observe and Report. I thought that movie was hilarious. It's like one of the only Seth Rogen movies I think is funny, and like nobody talks about it.
Observe and report.
Yeah, he plays a. It came out almost exactly the same time as Paul Blart Mall Cop, which is probably why
Weird.
nobody noticed it. But it's almost the same. I mean, he plays a mall cop, but he is like he's bipolar, and he has all these, there's all these weird mental problems, and he wants to be a cop. And he like talks to himself in the mirror and is like just losing his mind throughout the whole movie, and
Like the one
he
serial
shoots
killer.
people and stuff. It's fucked up. It's awesome though.
So the marketing on Paul Blart was better.
Because
I've never heard of
but
the
this
other one.
movie was far better, and it was written by Jody,
Lame.
whatever, the guy who did Eastbound and Down, and stars Seth Rogen. That's good.
Yeah.
Observe and Report.
Marketing is lame.
Marketing. More like
Marketing.
Shark.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's bullshit. McLuhan.
All right.
Okay, that's all I have for
Yeah.
for this movie. For
We all
Sunset
loved these
Boulevard.
movies,
We did.
and the next
Absolutely.
movies we're going to do are one of the next 5 or 6 movies named. Joe and Andy.
Big Sleep.
I'm gonna do Big Sleep.
Sleep.
Nocturne.
The Nocturne.
Yeah. Nocturne. I've even heard of that.
The Killers.
The Killers is
The
good.
Killers.
You got The Killers. You could do
Blue
Double
Beard.
Indemnity is great.
The Big
Bluebeard.
Heat
The
was
Big
also
Heat.
another one.
Naked
that was
City
named.
is the one I saw